Pandora Papers, Panama Papers, Paradise Papers. Everyone is involved. It means land of the Jews in English. And it's what we call today the Republic of the Congo.
So you want to tell me that the Holy Land is not in Israel?
The continent that the deep state calls Africa is turned upside down.
So what is the wall in the Jerusalem then?
The Wailing Wall is a counterfeit wall.
Who do you think has the Ark of the Covenant?
Prime Minister Netanyahu in the state of Israel. I believe the Mossad has it. And this is the reason why I'm so disappointed in the Trump administration. Pam Bondi is compromised. Her first husband, a man by the name of Garrett Barnes, was heavily involved with the Epstein Corporation. 60 to 65% of the Democrats in the House and the Senate are on the list. I know that for a fact. 25% of Republicans in the House and Senate combined are on the list, including Lindsey Graham. I'm at a copy, but I'm told not to reveal it. I got a copy. So I'm indirectly telling the beautiful listeners, go to the Panama Papers, Pandora Papers, and the Paradise Papers.
You just said that you have a copy of Epstein list?
Yes, I do.
Guys and gals, before we start, a few little things. First of all, this is my 100th anniversary episode, so you can congratulate me in the comment section below. Number two, please, guys and gals, be very open-minded while watching this video. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed by watching this episode till the very end. And number three, I don't have any sponsors. I'm not selling you any crypto, any NFT, nothing here. So your support is crucial to my channel. First of all, please like this video right now. Number two, please leave a comment below. Number three, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. And number four, just share this episode with all your friends, peers, and loved ones. And by the way, this is our third episode with Bishop Larry Gaders. If you haven't watched the first two, please do so. The links are going to be in the description below. And now, without any further ado, let's get back to the podcast with Larry Gaders.
Bishop Larry Gaders.
Yes, sir.
Another day, another topic.
Another day, another topic.
I love seeing you in front of me. Every time we meet, I get a lot of new things that I learn. The audience love it.
Thank you.
We get a lot of comments from, you never believe it, from Africa. From all over the world, but especially from Africa. I don't know, maybe they're just the ones that are more active and they're leaving the comments.
Yeah, yeah.
But from Africa, they're watching.
People from all over the world. I mean,
not only America. I want to say like only 60 to 70% is from the US, so we're going worldwide.
This is amazing.
Thanks to you.
No, your platform, you're reaching the world, and I thank God for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Before I start this, there is one specific question that audience is asking in the comments. So during the first episode, you said a few things about Disney, the pedophiles, etc.
Yeah.
And then they follow you on Instagram, and then they see you on the red carpets in Hollywood, etc.
Yeah.
So how do you combine those two?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am a nationally syndicated journalist, for the past 32 years. And God has graced me, has anointed me to not just walk these carpets, but to interview people. I believe a man or a woman has to be called to do what I'm doing. Not everyone can come to Hollywood and do this. And so take it like this. Remember Christ said, beware of wolves in sheep's clothing. But I am coming as an apostolic lamb wearing the clothing of a wolf in order to expose the system.
They're not mad at you?
No.
Have you ever had a comment like, why do you say that about us, about the actors, about Hollywood?
You know what? The amazing thing is, not one Hollywood star, because I'm really connected in the Hollywood circles, but I am not of the Hollywood circles. I'm in Hollywood, but I'm not of Hollywood. So that's a great question by your listeners. And so doing this for 32 years, the Oscars, the Emmys, the Grammys, but never been touched. But yet my light, I'm coming as an apostolic lamb wearing the clothing of the wolf in order to expose the system of the wolf. So legitimate question, absolutely, by your beautiful
Would
listeners.
you say, would you name at least 3 to 5 names in Hollywood who are true believers?
I would say Denzel Washington's one of them. You know, now it's rumored, we don't go by rumors, that he was subpoenaed to testify in the Diddy trial. I don't know if that's true or not, but he is a big time believer. Clint Eastwood is a big time believer.
guys.
You know, oh my God, who else?
How about Chris Pratt?
Chris Pratt, love Chris Pratt.
He's a believer?
Yeah, he is big time believer. Him and his wife. His wife is the daughter of Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a believer, and so now they're coming out of the salvation closet. Okay, I think a large part because of President Trump. So there's a lot of Christ-centered patriots in Hollywood like myself. So I am of the Hollywood system, but I'm not of it. In other words, I come as an apostolic lamb, but wearing the clothing of the wolf in order to destroy it. But that's a legitimate question by your listeners. Absolutely.
So today we're about to talk about Antarctica. I've
The
seen
seal
a
of the
video.
fallen.
You've got a long video on your YouTube channel.
Oh my.
And I knew right away I have to invite you and to talk about and hear it for the first time. I specifically didn't watch that video, so every reaction that you will get from me is going to be legitimate.
Antarctica, I taught 32 modules of that, and this will actually be my 33rd. Antarctica, the cell of the fallen angels. Well, in Genesis 6, Enoch 6, Jude 6, 6, 6, 6, according to Revelation 12 and 4, a third part of the angels of the angelic government of God were infected by and through the tail of Lucifer. Now, the term third part, rabbinically, it doesn't mean 333%. It actually means 666% of the total angelic host of the heavens were infected through a spiritual coup d'etat where Lucifer wanted to overthrow God. And I want to say this, that 666% or 500 million angels fell. Now, I'm sure you've heard of the Georgia Guidestones.
No.
Now, the Georgia Guidestones in the state of Georgia, I believe God took it down a couple of summers ago. It was a large marble plaque where it said that we're going to depopulate the earth, okay, by 500 million people.
In what language?
In English.
So someone wrote it.
Yeah, a man by the name of C.R. Christian, okay, some call him R.C. Christian, but C.R. Christian, whose maiden name was Plocksker. That is interesting about the name Plocksker or Plocks. That was the maiden name of the ex-wife of Dr. Dre. No connection though, right? Okay. But it said on the Georgia Guidestones that we're going to depopulate the earth down to 500 million people to give a perpetual balance to nature. But in Revelation 12 and 4, a third part of the angels of the heavens were to be overthrown, were to be excommunicated by God. 500 million, but yet the deep state wants to depopulate the earth, according to the former Georgia Guidestones, to 500 million people, from 8.1 billion to 500 million. That's interesting. Each person having a fallen angel. This is the sick, perverted mind of the deep state. So to understand what a fallen angel is, one of my favorite playwrights, a man by the name of William Shakespeare, whose real name is Sir Francis Bacon, he said once in the 1596 to 98 play called The Merchant of Venice, he said, "Truth shall come to light. Murder cannot be hid long. A man, some may, but at the length truth, the truth will out." Let me say this again. Truth shall come to light. Murder cannot be hid long. A man's son may, but at the length truth will out. Now, we are told that mankind has 45 blood groups. There are what we call a 45 blood group system. Now, you remember last time I was on your powerful show that blood types did not come from God. They came directly from the serpent. So to understand about Antarctica, the cell of the fallen angels, 45 blood group systems, 362 red cell antigens, and A plus, A minus, B plus, B minus, AB plus, AB minus, O plus, O minus. Then you get into the RH factor, the rhesus factor of RH positive, RH negative, RH null. So these blood types did not come from God. God did not breathe what we call blood types into Adam. Mm-hmm. And neither did God breathe what we call oxygen. So you and I are breathing God himself. You and I are not God, but we're breathing God. Now, somebody asked me recently, a good friend of mine out of Rome, Italy, a pastor friend of mine, he said, Bishop, how is it that you can say that God created nothing? See, we can't say that nothing created something. That's not quite accurate when you're dealing with God. In other words, God, Yahushua, Yahweh, created nothingness. Then he designed somethingness. Then he designed you and I. So now look at the term Caucasian. Now, I'm not teaching a black and white connotational teaching today. So to understand Antarctica, the cell of the fallen angels, the origin of the term Caucasian, notice the term Caucasian. Now, the Basque people, Basque, they're out of Spain. Mm-hmm. They're actually on the border of Spain and France. They carry the RH negative and the RH positive. Out of all the ethnicities on the earth, Brother Apollo, it's the Basque people. And why is that? When the third part of the angels of God fell in Revelation 12 and 4, and including Genesis 6, Enoch 6, Jude 6, 6, 6, 6, they were called Grigorys, the fallen angels. Before they were called Nephilims, they were called the Grigorys. And this is where we get the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah, but Nephilims were offsprings of fallen angels and women.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. But they came as Grigorys, mm-hmm. which became Nephilims because of the offspring through the daughters of men. And matter of fact, in Genesis 6, it talks about that term, daughters of men. They were looking for a particular DNA. Mm-hmm. They were looking for a DNA because these fallen angels wanted to redesign creation to be a species. So God never designed you and I to be a species. God never designed you and I to be human. Now, that term human, according to the Ballantyne's Black's Law Dictionary, that's right. It means sea monster.
Sea monster.
And so the term human means sea monster. God did not design you and I to be sea monsters or a multi-head type of creature, the Kraken. God did not design us to be a fetus, because the term fetus means an animalistic cargo. It's these words that have been attached to creation that has brought curses. So the Grigorys were the ones who gave the 13-month calendar to mankind through the daughters of men out of the 3 volumes of Enoch. And this is another reason why that a 45-degree angle was extracted from the mind of God, from the word of the Lord. So the Grigorys, who gave the Gregorian calendar, who then became Nephilims, the Watchers, brought a certain blood type that came not just from the fallen angels, but going back to the serpent. Now, in Genesis chapter 1, between verses 1 and 2, is what we call the gap theory. So the gap theory is a systematic theological doctrine that teaches that the term darkness came upon the face of the deep. The darkness where God did not create the darkness, he created the evening. The evening in the morning were the first, the second, and third day. But the term darkness was upon the face of the deep. This is the inception of the deep state. Wait a minute. So darkness was upon the face of the deep, or the state of Lucifer's fall was upon the face of the deep. So this is the inception of the deep state, not at the beginning of the JFK assassination, but the fall of Lucifer. And this is where you get the term Lucifer. And to your powerful listeners, if they can take the term Lucifer and write it backwards, because Rabbinical Hebrew is written from right to left, you get the Latin Vulgate expression recycle, which means the recycling of fecal matter. And so the angels fell, and their goal was to redesign God's creation. Now, let's talk about when Cain left the presence of the Lord, dwelt on the land of Nod, the east of Eden. It's interesting, man of God, that in Genesis 4:15, God set a mark upon Cain.
What does it mean? I was always wondering, what does it mean?
It's
a mark.
A mark. Well, you take those three terms, set a mark. And we know that the word of the Lord did not have words that were separated, right? Prior to the 325 AD conference at Nicaea. We're going to have to talk about that conference one day, because God's word was one interloping code. It was one code.
You mean no spaces between the
No
words?
spaces in between, because it represents rabbinically the code of God's nature, or what we call the God particles, or God's nature. Every letter, every number represents an aspect of who God is. But that term set a mark, when you connect the word set to mark, though we're in the Hebraic Old Testament, but in Genesis 4:15, that becomes a Chaldean word, set a mark, which means caucasoid.
What does it mean?
Caucasoid, or Caucasians, or Caucasians. Now, the term Caucasian, it represents that when God set a mark upon Cain, God did not curse Cain. He bleached him. He set a mark upon Cain, lest any man finding him should kill him. This is a powerful concept that a lot of people have never heard before, at least most people. So when God says, I'm going to set a mark, I am going to caucasoid Cain, lest any man finding him should kill him, because God knew that Cain would go into the mountainous regions of what we call Eastern, Central, and Western Europe. And the term Europe means that Cain was roped off from civilization. And the people who did not know how to cook or to season their food or to bury their dead. I definitely want to come back to that. But that set a mark is not a curse. White people are not cursed. Black people are not cursed. But God had bleached or caucasoid Cain, not to curse him, but to actually protect him from those who were the opposite color. Because in genetics, the study of genetics, most scholars will tell you, especially Jewish scholars, that the black genome is the dominant gene. The non-black genome is the recessive gene. And that's not black supremacy or white supremacy. In people of Alkebulanite descent, or what the deep state calls Africa, we have 9 DNA strands. Everyone else has 6. So I'm definitely going to come back to that, because people of Alkebulan, I don't call the continent Africa. Now, there's a lot of black folk were upset with me because they said, well, Bishop Leo Scipio Africanus was not born. He was born in Africanus. The title of Africaner or Africanus was not conferred upon him by the people of Alkebulan because he was born with the title. But it gets back to what we call the matrix. It is hard, not for all black folk, but for a certain degree of the black diaspora to let go of that title. Why call yourself, why label yourself after the name of a former slave master?
By the way, I fact-checked it with ChatGPT. It's true.
Yeah, that's it.
There was a guy, yeah, his name was Africanus. That's correct.
That's it. And I thank God for your show, because you fact check. I love that. And my staff loves that, right? Mm-hmm. And so I believe in receipts. But the term Alkebulan in Coptic means the Garden of Eden, okay? 11.7 million square miles. Now, we've been told a lie, and this is a part of Antarctica, the cell of the fallen angels. We've been taught, because of the present day Mercator map, that Africa is the same size of Greenland. That's not true. Alkebulan, or Africa, is approximately 11.7 million square miles, or 30 million square kilometers, which means you can fit the United States inside of the continent, or China, India, Japan, and all of Europe at the same time inside of what we call Africa today. But that's, to the average mind, they said, well, this is impossible, because the present day mapping system, they have Alkebulan the size of Greenland, which is actually 14 times larger than Greenland.
Actually, it's very easy to prove, because if you take the globe, so we have if we divide the globe into 2 pieces, we got the center is the equator, right? So equator goes through Africa. So it means half of it is under the equator.
Yes.
And I want to say a chunk of it, almost 30%, is above it. So
Yes.
Africa is that big.
It's
It's huge. Guys, just look at under the equator.
Because of what there is a mapping system called the Mercator, MERCATOR, or projection mapping system, created by the European cartographer, and the term cartographer means a scholar of the creation of maps. Gert de Kremer, G-E-E-R-T space Day, D-E space Kremer, K-R-E-M-E-R, created the Mercator mapping system going back to the 16th century as a common template for world maps today, distorting the size of countries. So now, this is going to, you know this, but this is going to blow people's minds. Laying foundation for, and I love teaching, Antarctica, the cell of the fallen angels. The Venetian Italian cartographer, a man by the name of Livio Sanato, Livio-Sanuto, his brother Giulio Sanato, had designed a map that was published in 1588 called the Africae Tabula the 12th. Africae, then tabula, Tabula, the 12th, or some say the 13th. It's a map going back to the year of 1588. In the center of that map, when talking about going back to 1588, there is a Latin term called Ivdeo Rim. Allow me to pronounce it with the N silent. I-V-D-E-O or V-M, then the term Tira, T-E-R-R-A, which is a Latin term that when you go to Google Translation or Google Translate, pronounce it as Iudae Aurum, I-U-D-A-E-O-R-U-M, then Tira. That's interesting, T-E-R-R-A. It is translated in English as Land of the Jews.
Oh, really?
In a map of 1588, where they have it as Ideal Rim with the V and the M sign, I-V-D-E-O or V-M, then space Tira underneath it, T-E-R-R-A, and Latin translation of Iudae Aurum, I-U-D-A-E-O-R-U-M, Tira, that when you transliterate it in the Google translation, it means Land of the Jews in English. And it's what we call today the Republic of the Congo. Wait a minute, I'm confused. Wait a minute. So,
The center of Africa.
the center of Africa, the Republic of the Congo, that's been in wars for the past, 30, 40 years against Rwanda. And a week or two ago, they came to the White House, the leaders of the Republic of the Congo in Rwanda, and signed a peace treaty with President Trump.
And Republic of Congo is former Zaire?
Yes, it is. A lot of people, now probably 90% would disagree, but it's former Zaire. And 80 to 90% of the names of the African nations today are not the original name.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at Nigeria. Who created the term Nigeria? A British baroness, a woman by the name of Flora Shaw. Flora Shaw, F-L-O-R-A, Shaw, created the term Nigeria. So 85 to 90% of the names on the continent are either German, Dutch, British, Portuguese. And so the map maker, the Antonio Venetian map maker, Livio Sonato's map, in going back to 1588, it shows in the middle the Latin term Ivdeo Rim with the V and the M silent. Man, this is mind-blowing. I-V-D-E-O or V-M, then Tira underneath it, T-E-R-R-A, transliterated as Iudae Aurum Tira, which means in English, the land of the Jews. Where that maps, what country in Alkebulan today that goes back to 1588 did the Sanoto brothers deem as the land of the Jews? The Republic of the Congo.
So you want to tell me that the Holy Land is not in Israel?
According to the Mercator map today, they got the Holy Land, okay, out of place. The Holy Land, what we call Israel, is actually northeastern Alkebulan, or Africa. But because of this Mercator projection or map, the system, the mapping system has been distorted, and it's done purposely. There is a medical term. It's called situs inversus. S-I-T-U-S, then inversus. It's a medical term, man of God. It means that the organs in the body are out of alignment. You know about that. So this Mercator mapping system is a global geographical situs inversus map, where actually, I'm going to bring this up later, that the continent that the deep state calls Africa is turned upside down. I'm going to come back to that in a minute.
You know, so it was always interesting to me. Why do we see the globe, the Earth, north and south like this? Why not the verse first? Why not the upside down? It's so
God is speaking through you. I got to say this, and not to get ahead of the mind of God, but I'm glad that you brought that up. Now, I'm going to bring up later that in the first volume of the seer and the prophet Enoch, every seer is a prophet, but not every prophet is a seer. Of course, another topic for another day. But in the 77th chapter of first Enoch, or the first volume of Enoch, Enoch says that the Western Hemisphere today is actually the Eastern Hemisphere. And the Eastern Hemisphere is actually the Western Hemisphere. And so we'll bring that up later on. And something like that has to be shown on a projector. Because it was, when God revealed this to me a couple of months ago, it was absolutely mind-blowing. According to the first volume of Enoch, in the 70th, actually in chapter 70 and 77, that the hemispheres had been switched. China is not in the Eastern Hemisphere. They're actually in the Western Hemisphere. The United States is not in the Western Hemisphere. We're actually in the Eastern Hemisphere. So you hit a powerful nerve with me on that. And I'll bring that up later on. This is because of demonic influence, as we're laying foundation for Antarctica, the cell of the fallen angels. There is a link. It's called https en.RATTIBHA.com/thread. It talks about another Latin term called terra de Giudei. Allow me to pronounce that. Giudei. When translated into English, is called the land of the Jews. So Terra, Terra, space de, de, space Judea, Giu. Interesting, Dei. It's an Italian word translated into English as land of the Jews.
So terra is land, terra incognita, right? On the unknown land. But Giudel, it's like Judea.
Judei.
It's almost Judea.
Oh, yes. Exactly. But why would the Sononto brothers call what is called today the Congo, and the Congolese people, the land of the Jews? Because Jerusalem, where it's at on a map, that's not where Jerusalem is. It's actually in northeastern Archipelago. That's why the deep state built the Suez Canal, which took them, 10 years to build, from 1859 to 1869. Why did the Western powers, through Ferdinand Lepsy, who was a French diplomat, build the Suez Canal? To separate Al-Qiblan from Israel, to partition Al-Qiblan, which means not just the land of the Jews, yes, but Coptically it means the Garden of Eden. Why? See, the Suez Canal is not a natural ravine. So from 1859 to 1869, they built this canal, had nothing to do with trade and commerce. It was a conspiracy to split the mother continent in order to C-section the Holy Land from the...
But not that Holy Land.
Yeah.
So what is the wall in the Jerusalem then?
Well, the wall in Jerusalem was built Talmudically. I'll come back to that, but the wall...
This is not the wall from the second temple?
The temple. This wall, the Wailing Wall, is a counterfeit wall. It was created by Talmudists going back centuries ago. It has nothing to do with the real wall of Jerusalem that's going to be surrounding the temple, according to Revelation.
So every president that goes to Jerusalem wears this hat and bows his head to the wall. The wall is
Talmudic scholars built that, and they could no rabbi, when it was first designed centuries ago, could even pray to whoever they were praying to without wearing those phylacteries, the black cube of Saturn, and which represents a serpentine strap. We're not talking about our Jewish brothers and sisters, right? But the praying wall where every president, every king, in other words, the entire world is influenced by Zionism. The masses of the Israeli people hate Zionism. I am not a Zionist preacher. I'm not a Zionist bishop like John Hagee, okay? And T.D. Powerbottom Snakes and Joe Schulstein. I'm sorry, I don't mean to preach. And these preachers, they are bought and paid for by organizations like the World Zionist Congress. We're not talking about the innocent Israeli people. They hate Zionism because Jacob Rothschild said in an interview a few years ago before his death that his family created the modern state of Israel. And the modern state of Israel, they had their corporation status out of London. That makes no sense.
You know what's interesting in regards to Africa? So we're hearing those stories about Ethiopia. The real Israelites,
Yes.
the real Christians, Ethiopia.
Yes.
It's like, why Africa? Why Ethiopia? Why the black people? What do they have in common with Israel, with the Jews, with the real Hebrews, right?
Yeah.
But now, if you're saying this, it all makes kind of sense.
Yes. You got the Philistine Jews, Ethiopian Jews who are of the seed of Solomon in the Queen of Sheba.
Because the queen of Ethiopia traveled to
Right.
somewhere to King Solomon
Yeah.
and had a baby and came back to Ethiopia.
Yes.
But they're telling us that she came from Ethiopia to modern day Israel.
Right, right.
But what you're saying is she came from Ethiopia down to Congo.
Down to the Congo.
That makes more sense.
It makes more sense. And that's why it gets back to the continent of our Kipling on a map, it's upside down.
You want to tell Solomon was black?
Solomon was black. He says, I am black and comely and altogether lovely. So when we look at black history, the entire Word of God is a black history book. All of it is.
How so?
Correct. Well, when you look at the ethnicity of Christ in the ethnicity of the apostles, as a quick side note, Christ knew the 12 apostles since they were children. But the Vatican took out the Gospel of Thomas, which taught that Christ as a child was a rabbinical school pal or friends with the 12 when they were children. They knew each other. Christ didn't one day just call them, because the Word of God says, know them that labor among you. They knew each other as children, but we had never been taught that. But the original Israelites, remember we talked about this the first time I came on your powerful show. May I feel the anointing. There's a difference between an Israelite and an Israeli. Today's Israelis don't call themselves Israelites. They're only Semites, but they're not Shemites. Nor did not have a son named Semitical, because the term Semite was actually created by a German philosopher, Dr. August Ludwig von Schlosser, in the middle to the late 1700s. He created the term Semite. The term Semite is nowhere to be found in Scripture. So the Israelis today, They are a kind of the original Hebrew, but they are not the original Hebrew.
So speaking of the Gospel of Thomas, there are multiple Gospels that are not included in the canonical Bible, right? There is also a Gospel of Judah, where
But Judah, yes.
where he says that he knew what he was doing. It's almost he even said to Christ that I'm about to do it because this is part of the prophecy.
Yes.
I have to do it.
He has to do.
It makes kind of sense.
And had Judas repented, Christ still would have forgiven him.
Right.
No person is born to be a preordained failure of an entity. Had Judas, notice the term Iscariot. That's not a last name. That's a mindset. Iscariot, scariot, to riot. Had he repented, Christ would have forgiven him.
Do you think he hung himself?
I think the Sanhedrin hung him. I think the Sanhedrin did that because Judas, and this is where you get the term Judea, with 30 pieces of silver, the betrayal was not just in the silver, but the betrayal was that Iscariot discarded his relationship with Christ, his mantle, and brought the Sanhedrin to Christ when Christ was in the Garden of Gethsemane. And it was St. Peter who took a sword and cut off the right ear, of the servant of the high priest, Caiaphas. And Christ restored his ear. The right ear means favor, left means disfavor. You see. And so today's Jews, they are not of the theological ancient Jews. The word of the Lord never said that 6 million Jews came up out of Egypt. 6 million Hebrews. Because the term Hebrew is not a bloodline. It means to have dominion, right? Hebrews, to have dominion. But the term Jew means one who is disciplined with his dominion. So actually the first Hebrew was not Abraham. The first Hebrew was Adam. Because God gave him dominion. So Adam, the Adam of Genesis 2:7, he ruled as the original Hebrew. But he lacked the discipline of the paradigm of Jewry or as a Jew. Talking about Adam. Abraham's blood was Chaldean. Well, where did Abram come out of? But what the scholars call today Mesopotamia, but that's not the original name of that part of the world, Mesopotamia, because Mesopotamia is a Greek term. The original name that Abram came out of, the Ur of the Chaldees, is called Shinar or Sumer. Shinar in Genesis 8, or Sumer, Sumer, meaning the land of the black-headed people. So Abram means father. Then he grew into his covenant relationship as Ham, Hamitic or black. And so today's Jews are Semitic, but they're not Shemitic.
So what color was that Adam?
Well, pre-fall Adam, that's a great question. He had no color.
Yes,
See,
we talked about it. Correct. Then he realized he's naked.
That he realized that he was naked, and then the coats of skin that was attached to the body of Adam and to his wife, whom he named Eve only after the fall, because pre-fall woman, and God called their name Adam, the man in the which represents one flesh. But post-fall Adam, the term coats of skin, in other words, the body of a spiritual Adam became pigmentation. This is where you get the term pigmented or pigmentation. So Christ in the Gospels, when he cast out the legion, 6,000, this is where we get the term religion, for we are many. Where did the demons want to go? Into the herd of swine, which is the characteristics of a pigmentation. So this is not natural, this is unnatural. So post-fall Adam, his pigmentation was black, or of a dark, what the deep state calls you. But I don't like that term you because it's the acronym for human, which means sea monster. But prior to Adam's fall, he had no color. People say, well, the dust of the ground, Bishop. Well, that's what we call the God particles. We cannot confuse the rabbinical interpretation of the word dust in Genesis 2 and 7 to this terra firma today. Mm-hmm. And as a quick side note, every shape of every nation. Now, according to the UN, we have 207 nations. Some say more, some say less. When you look at the shape of each nation, and here's Revelation, you're not going to find this anywhere online. When the angels fell, according to Genesis 6, Enoch 6, Jude 6, 6, 6, 6, Revelation 12 and 4, when they hit the earth, half of the angels became dust. This is Revelation. The way that United States is shaped, that's the byproduct of a fallen angel. Or the way that Canada or Mexico or Archibulin or Switzerland is shaped. So when we talk about deception, the mapping system is a lie. So a thread of maps, and your powerful listeners, and jump in anytime, because this is heavy today. And when we're talking about not just Alkebulan. And what does Alkebulan have to do with the fallen angels? Because demons bring about the paradigm of deception. The way that we look at Alkebulan or Africa on a map, it seems smaller. But in the original maps, predating even 1588, Europe is not on top, is at the bottom.
Upside down.
Upside down. So this is a historical perception through manipulation. This is why? Because of the fallen angels and the influence of the fallen angels. So your powerful listeners can go to and just type on google.com a thread of maps, explorers, journals, newspapers, eyewitnesses, or en.ratibha.com, or a thread of maps, explorers, and journals. So it talks about that the land of Alkebulan is the land of the Jews.
You know what's interesting? So every time, I'm sorry that I interrupted you. If I take, for instance, Google Maps, or this is the Apple Maps, right?
Yes.
This is what we see, right?
Yes.
This is Africa, Alkebulan.
See.
Just look at how big it is. But why don't they let me go upside down? I would love to to see the world that is Africa is on top.
Yeah,
It's not gonna let me.
Yeah.
Why?
Because of the Mercator projectional mapping system that even online, the software has been manipulated.
Correct. I can't do it. I just can't.
And it won't allow us to do it because of the software in your laptop, in our present day computer system, will not allow Alkebulan
To be on top.
or to be the largest continent.
Correct.
The lie has been so pervasive because of demons. And so you can fit the United States and Europe inside of Alkebulan, but to the average mind that's tied to the matrix, they don't see it, you see. And man, that's powerful. So remember Leo Scipio Africanus, the Roman general who was a global strategist of ancient Rome, and jump in anytime. There's a book called A Geographical history, History, of Africa by Africanus Leo or Leo Africanus. He teaches the Louis Africanus theory. And there was a Louis Africanus born in 1494 in Granada, Spain. The Second Punic War, where Hannibal was defeated, okay, in Carthage, which is present-day Libya, in Tanzania, not Tanzania,
Tunisia.
or Tunisia, Tunisia. And so, wait a minute, the present day Carthage is present day Eastern Libya and Western, what a lot of scholars call Tanzania, but Tunisia is actually Libya in Tanzania, not Tanzania. And this is mind-blowing to black folk. They never heard of this. Now, the Greek interpretation of what we've been so conditioned to call Africa is a freak, P-H-R-I-K-E, which means to freak off. I kid you not. A freak, P-H-R-I-K-E, or Africa. A freak, someone that is full of horror, cold, someone that's been amalgamated to a system through a conscious evolution through a psyop operation called Africa. So we've been lied to. Freak. So God did not design the mother continent to be a freak or to be freaked off from the rest of civilization. We've been lied to. We are not just the mother continent, the beginning of all civilization, but we are the Garden of Eden. Now, the Garden of Eden is not just a location, it's a mindset.
How were the Diddy parties named?
Freak-offs. Oh, Lord have mercy. Repeat that again.
Yeah, they were saying that he was holding those freak-off parties.
See?
A freak-off party.
But yet the Greeks also called Africa a freak. P-H-R-I-K-E. A freak. Off, separated from the other nations. This has been masterfully so crafted by the deep state going down through the centuries. And it's so hard sometimes to unplug people instead of black folk from that term. So the fraudulent term Africa or Africa did not exist prior to the year 202 BC, which is the Second Punic War. It's the term Africa or Afrik, like freak off, is a Roman psyop of conscious evolution through geographical transhumanism in synthetic historical spirituality. Wait, synthetic historical spirituality. So we're going to rip away the original term of Alkebulan because we don't want you to have a mindset that you came from the Garden of Eden. But we're going to give you the last name of a general who had raped your country. In the term Afrik, also P-H-R-I-K-E, it means to be subjugated. You as a foal to be subjugated like to the Roman Empire. To the average person, they can't comprehend this.
Okay, Bishop. So would you tell that black folks, black people, especially in Africa and Alkebulan, suffer here because of the fatherlessness, right?
Yes.
So hear me out. So if the true Israel is in the modern day Congo,
yes, sir.
So in Genesis 12, it says you protect the Israel or the one who blesses Israel or the one who.
Yes.
you're going to be blessed as well.
Yes.
And in Matthew 24, it says that my people are going to be persecuted and prosecuted.
Yes.
And who would you say need more help, literally more help right now? People in Israel or people in Africa?
In Africa, in Al-Qaeda.
No water, no food,
Nope.
no laws, no nothing.
Nothing. Africa, Al-Qaeda has been raped since 1801. Raped, colonized. And the reason why you see regime changes on the continent, that is the byproduct of centuries of colonization. Later, we're going to get into the gold. Now, President Trump wanted to audit the gold in Fort Knox. That's been kept quiet now. You got over 70 trillion tons, 70 trillion, over 70 trillion tons of gold throughout the world. 90% of it was stolen out of Al-Qaeda or Africa. The world, especially the Western powers, the United States, Great Britain, France, Germany, has enriched themselves
Fact.
because of the mother continent. This is a part of the concept of Antarctica, the fallen angels. Yeah.
And I always had this question, like, why would the holy or the promised land would be this that had no oil, no gas,
Yes.
no silver, no other precious metals, right? It makes no sense. Why? It's basically a desert.
It's a
desert.
desert. It's a
If they would say California, yeah, that we have mountains, ocean, we have all the scenery in the world.
Yeah.
But if you substitute that holy land, the place, physical place of Israel
Yeah.
nowadays into Congo, it all makes sense.
You see,
You have everything right there.
everything. You got
It's
gold.
green. You got the jungles,
Yes. Oil, and you got minerals and diamonds.
diamonds.
The land flowing with milk and honey. It's not what the deep state calls Palestine. Palestine, go ahead. You just get what you say.
New Jerusalem is going to look like what?
Yeah.
The streets of gold. No gold in modern day Israel, right?
Gold in modern day Israel. Their gold vaults were stolen out of Al-Qaeda. She's been raped going back to 1801. The land flowing with milk and honey, it's gold, it's silver, it's copper, it's minerals, it's diamonds, all of it, not out of what we call the state of Israel, it's out of Al-Qaeda. The entire, I would say 90% of the entire gold reserves throughout the world in 125 nations comes from out of Africa or Al-Qaeda.
I just asked ChatGPT. The Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the richest countries in the world in terms of natural resources, especially in minerals and precious metals. Cobalt, copper, coltan, tin, gold, diamond, zinc, lithium, uranium.
You see?
You name it.
That's it. And on that 1588 map by the Sonato brothers, beginning with Livio Sonato, the Congo is called the land of the Jews. When it's translated from Latin to English, is the land of the Jews.
I just asked ChatGPT about Israel. Israel is not widely known for large-scale minerals or precious metals, but what kind of sea does Israel have?
Is it?
The Dead Sea.
The-
The salt, where nothing can grow because of salt.
Exactly. And they want to build a canal through what is called the Gaza Strip. They want to, this concept goes back to the late David Ben Gurion. It was his goal to actually wipe out the Gaza Strip, to build a canal that will rival China's Belt and Road Initiative, the Silk Road Belt and Road Initiative. If your powerful listeners just go on Google images and type in Belt and Road Initiative or Silk Road Initiative, it goes back to Genghis Khan, who was a Khazarian. But that route of the Belt and Road Initiative or the Silk Road Initiative, it is shaped like a dragon, okay, or an animal. Just like when you go on a ancient map of the Roman Empire, or even today, and you type in Roman Empire on a map, is shaped like a wolf. WOLF. Well, the founders of the Roman Empire were twin brothers, Romulus and Remus.
Correct.
When you go to Google Images and type in Romulus and Remus, they are committing bestiality underneath a wolf.
Yes.
But yet the Roman Empire, the Western Roman Empire, is shaped like a wolf on a map.
And one brother survived. That's why the city name was.
Exactly. And then centuries later came the Vatican, which is named after a high-level goddess in Roman history called Vatica, Vatika. Vatica is the name of a goddess or a fallen angel. As a quick side note, one of the fallen angels in the 3 volumes of Enoch, one of the fallen angels was called Cosmetic. Wait a minute now. Cosmetic. The other one was called Mascara. I kid you not. Wait a minute now. But now the CIA has invested millions of dollars in the cosmetic industry. There's a reason for that, and we'll come back to that. But this is a heavy top. Go ahead.
We have to just have this disclaimer. I love Jewish people. I like
Jewish people.
Black people. I like everybody.
I love everybody.
No anti-Semites.
No, my right-hand person, Lisa, she's been communicating. She's Jewish. I love Jewish people.
100%.
And so our assignment is just to reveal the truth that they are not the ancient people of the original. It doesn't mean that they're evil, but their bloodline goes back to Leo the Khazar. Now, remember, between Malachi and Matthew, the 4 silent years, and do apologize for going all over the map, but just moving as the mind of God leads me. Antarctica, the cell of the fallen angels. Leo the Khazar, out of the Roman Empire, led the military industrial complex out of Rome to ransack Jerusalem, to take the Ark of the Covenant, to destroy the temple, and to take the Torah to Rome. And from there, down to the centuries, come Ashkenazic, Sephardic. Later, because it came out of Rome, and through the Khazarian hypothesis, the Khazarian diaspora, Eastern, Central, and Western Europe, Turkey, Mongolia, the central part of China, through the Han Dynasty. They are Israelis, but they're not Israelites. They are Semites, but they're not Shemites.
Who do you think has the Ark of the Covenant?
Ethiopia did, but I believe Prime Minister Netanyahu in the state of Israel. I believe the Mossad has it now.
Really?
Yeah. Let's talk about that next. I believe that the Ark of the Covenant is in the hands of the Mossad.
If there is somebody or somewhat that can have it,
Yeah.
can know where it is,
Yeah.
where it was,
Yeah.
it's them.
It's them. Yeah, it's them.
They're incredible.
It's very cool. And when you talk about DNA testing, the state of Israel has banned genetic DNA testing for the most part. Why is that?
Is that true?
Yeah, that is, for the most part. In some instances, they still test DNA, but for the most part, they ban it. Why? Because the state of Israel does not want the world to know that the ribonuric acid, the DNA or the ribonuric acid, the RNA of the present-day Israelis is not ancient Shemitic. So they have banned genetic for the most part. On some situations, they allow it in some medical purposes and for employment. But for the most part, they have banned DNA. Why? They have banned the testing of DNA. One of my favorite authors, a powerful Israeli writer, Dr. Eran Elyak, wrote a book, The Khazarian Hypothesis. He said that 85 to 90% of today's Israelis are not the original Hebrews. And so this psyop of the term Al-Kibalin, and in Nigeria is named by a British baroness, a woman by the name of Flora Shaw, in 1897. That was the same year of the creation of the World Zionist Congress. Again, now, when you look at Al-Qibla, this is heavy. It's actually upside down on the present-day map. And allow me to explain that. The Nile River flows south to north, deep within the mother continent, out to the Mediterranean Sea. And when you follow, and this is heavy, when you follow the Nile upstream, you don't start in Egypt. I don't call it Egypt because Egypt is actually a Greek term. Okay, the term Egypt was created by a white Greek prince by the name of Aegyptus. The original name before it became Egypt was Kemet. So the Nile flows upstream, but you don't start in Kemet or Egypt. You start in Sudan, which its original name was not Sudan, it was Nubia. The true source of Nubian civilization. Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt. Sudan has more pyramids than or Kemet or Egypt. The pharaohs who ruled Kemet or Egypt long before we were taught even about Europe. So wait a minute now. So why does the world see Egypt at the top and what we call South Africa at the bottom? The present day mercantile mapping system was designed from a European perception with Europe on top. So your mind's in the north, you're thinking Europe on top, the body follows the mind, the body of Africa or Al-Qibla. That's not by mistake, that's by design.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you had Britain in the center. But north is not natural. In other words, it's simply a perspective that becomes a global perception. It's a perspective that becomes a global and a historical perception. In other words, the way we see Al-Qibla or Africa, it's upside down. But to the average mind, it's hard for them to grasp this because we've been taught a certain way to look at the present-day mapping system. And so in ality, I don't like to call it reality because there's a difference between ality and reality. Ality means prior to the fall of Adam, that's ality. Reality is post-fall Adam and what we call the matrix. So
something.
Revamp.
There was something, but we now have to something, like go back.
Remember, multiply and replenish.
Replenish the earth.
You see. And there were 4 rivers that came up out of Eden, right? Mm-hmm. And watered the whole face of the earth. Gihon, Pison, Hittite, and Euphrates. And in Revelation, it talks about there would be 4 major principality demons that we would be loose from the Euphrates River. The Euphrates River is drying up now.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at those 4 rivers, Gihon, Pison, Hittite, and Euphrates, each one post-fall Adam is now occupied by a principality spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you get your SETIs, your CERNs, okay? So, again, this is mind-blowing. Africa, on the present-day mercantile map, is actually upside down. And when you try to turn it on your, it won't allow it because the software will not allow us to see the totality of the truth. This is how deep this is.
Guys, ask yourself, why can't you just turn it upside down? Why? It's just a software.
Yeah.
Why? You can take a globe physical and you can turn it, but you can't do it on your computer, on your phone. You can't do it.
or even when you turn Alkebulan, that we call Africa, right side up, is shaped like the United States. Or the United States is shaped like Alkebulan. Or when you look at Alkebulan on the map now, it's shaped like a face with its mouth open to what we call the Middle East. Now, the term Middle East is a fraudulent term, okay?
You're actually true, yeah. This is the nose, this is the open mouth, yes.
Oh my God, yeah, look at that. And prior to what we call, well, the Ice Age, where there was no Atlantic or Pacific seas or oceans, people could walk from Alkebulan into what we call the United States today.
That's how we got people here.
That's how we got people.
The indigenous people.
The indigenous people. Or South America is actually Southwest Alkebulan. Or the United States is actually Western Alkebulan. Or Canada is actually Northwest Alkebulan. You see. But Europe is not on top.
Not the center of the world, especially not the Great Britain.
Especially not Great Britain. It's
just an island.
It's just an island. And when you look at Great Britain, it's really a former Roman colony, because the Roman Empire created Britannica.
Yes.
And there is to you Britannica students, why did the Britannica educational system use a poppy seed as a logo?
Why?
The poppy representing the heroin traffic. Okay. There is a company called the Jardine Matheson Group out of Hong Kong. Okay. It was two individuals, Jardine and Matheson and Jardine, sent by not just the Rothschilds, but the Rothschilds of the Middle East, called the Sassoons, to create the two opium wars in China. Okay. Because they did not want Beijing to call the shots politically. So let's dump drugs into China. Nothing has changed. And so now the Sassoon family, along with the Rothschilds, control the global drug trade to this day. Remember the crack cocaine trade epidemic in the 80s? Okay. So this is what this, and not to get away from the text of Antarctica, the Cell of the Fallen Angels. The Bloods and Cribs was not actually created by Raymond Washington and Tookie Williams. Raymond Washington and Tookie Williams were used by the CIA. The CIA created the Bloods and Cribs. After the fall of the original Black Panther Party. Now, I agree with the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Black men, women, and children were just getting slaughtered by cops in California, in Oakland, and all over the country during the 60s. The only part I don't like about the original Panthers is the communistic part. But J. Edgar Hoover said, I need to neutralize the Black Panther Party. These men and women were highly educated, PhDs. These were not stupid people. So when the Black Panther Party was neutralized by the FBI through Operation Black Cell. Now, Operation Black Cell was a covert operation designed by the FBI during the 1950s to help the CIA to nuke certain countries. Yes, what does the FBI have anything to do with nuking? They're supposed to be a domestic law enforcement agency. But through Operation Black Cell, the FBI, the CIA, wanted to nuke certain nations and even certain cities in the United States to destroy communism. And to the average person, they think this is crazy. Operation Black Cell was changed to COINTELPRO.
What is that?
COINTELPRO started in the late 50s, early 60s. It means counterintelligence. It was a covert operation started with the FBI, including with the help of the CIA, to neutralize black organizations during the 50s and 60s, like the Black Panther Party, okay? Even the NAACP, not one black organization was founded by black folk, not even the Nation of Islam. We talked about that a couple months ago. So COINTELPRO was finally exposed in the mid-70s, where FBI agents could infiltrate the Nation of Islam, the original Black Panther Party, okay? All SNCC, all of these black organizations were thoroughly infiltrated by American intelligence through COINTELPRO. So we go from Black Cell to COINTELPRO. Now, President Trump said to the Ayatollah in the Iranian regime, if one American soldier is harmed, I will absolutely nuke your country through Operation Black Cell. Then all of a sudden, the Ayatollah, okay, if he's still alive, if that's the real Ayatollah, they changed their tune. In other words, Trump said, I will nuke your country through Operation Black Cell. So when we talk about Antarctica, the cell of the fallen angels, getting back to the Black Panther Party. So the Black Panthers were neutralized. Now the government, the CIA, namely with the CIA and the FBI, needed to fill that vacuum that was left voided by the neutralization of the Panthers, okay? As a side note, Dr. Ewing Newton was not involved with drugs. That was a lie put out by the legacy media and by the FBI. The FBI had liquidated, okay, liquidated him in the 80s. Dr. Ewing Newton had nothing to do with drugs. He was still a threat to the system. So the Black Panthers are neutralized. Here comes the Bloods and Crips. So the Bloods and Crips is a creation of American intelligence.
The controlled one.
We don't want a black messiah. But they don't realize one came 2,000 years ago in the person of Yeshua the Christ. So they did not want a black messiah. So we need to take out Malcolm. We need to take out Cain. And mind you, the Martin Luther King speech, I Have a Dream, was not written by him, okay? It was written by a man by the name of Livingston, who was connected to the ATO. Nothing wrong with that. And maybe one day we'll talk about the assassination of Dr. King. So the Panthers are neutralized. Here comes the Bloods and Crips, okay? The Germanic interpretation for Cain is blood. The Germanic interpretation for Abel is crypt or coffin. So the first Bloods and Crips were not in Los Angeles. It was actually going back nearly 6,000 years in Genesis chapter 4. So connect Cain to Abel, you get the term cannibal or cannibalism. Marina Abramovich. So go ahead.
In regards to Africa, and there's a conspiracy theory that says that either the US, the CIA, someone has introduced HIV/AIDS to the Africans, right?
Yes.
So if this is kind of a true, the question remains the following. Why Africans? How can you and why do you hate the black people so much, even if you don't know them? You can't hate someone that you haven't even seen in your entire life. They have their own continent. They live in Africa. It's huge. Yeah. They never come to your place. Maybe you don't want to live among them, and so you just being in the government, just don't let them in without visas, special talents, etc. But why do you hate them so much? So you introduce this horrible stuff like HIV and any other disease to Africa. Yeah. Why? What is the reason? But if you're saying that if they are the original Hebrews, and you counterfeit God, you hate them, you hate the original people of God, that's why you would love to demolish, rape, physically, mentally, with all instances, this whole continent and the people of it.
It was the goal, the reason why the black man, the black woman, the black diaspora is such a threat to the deep state is because of our bloodline. To this very day, you go back to the time of the Exodus. And so Pharaoh Necho, had said, okay, we need to find this Messiah, Moses or Moshe, okay? Let's kill all of the firstborn from 2 years old and under, even during the time of Christ. Herod,
1 second. Pharaoh was what color? Was he black?
Pharaoh was black.
Moses?
Moses, black.
Noah?
Black.
Okay. Please continue.
That's a great note. They were black. And later, centuries later, came the Greek prince Aegyptus. From there, the pharaohs became white. But during the time of Moses, the pharaohs were black, who enslaved their own people. And so let's assassinate every Hebrew child from 2 years old and under. Even during the day of Christ, Herod did not want to kill Yeshua. He wanted to kill his Christology, his kingdom. The word never said that Herod was seeking for Yeshua. He was seeking for the Christ child or the kingdom of Yeshua, because Herod's kingdom felt threatened. So empire, Herod felt threatened by kingdom. So the black diaspora has been I hate to say it, the object of such a global conspiracy. AIDS, the crack cocaine epidemic, okay? Sickle cell anemia was not even in existence until 1913. Sickle cell is a biological weapon. Prior to 1913, there was no such thing as sickle cell. Remember the Zika virus that hit South America? That's a biological
Everything comes from Africa. They're saying everything that comes from, except for COVID, it came from China.
China. It's the Chinese, right? As the joke, it's the China syndrome, or actually two are part of that. The Novartis AG group. Then you have, and I gotta be careful because I don't want you to get a strike, but the thing is, the black diaspora. Now, this is what the West does. When Biden and Kamala Harris, like Camato, when they were in office, they went to the Al-Qaeda or the African leaders. They said, we will cut off funding if you initiate anti-gay laws, anti-lesbian laws, anti-LGBTQ. Wait a minute now. The Biden administration, they didn't care about the people. We're not going to, bring billions of dollars or worth of finance and capital to build your nations. We want you to be pro-gay, pro-lesbian,
Pro-trans.
pro-trans.
Education for kids.
For education for kids. But the leaders out of Uganda and Nigeria, they said, kick rocks. You're not running us here anymore. There's a new generation of African leaders who are not kissing the behind of the Western. That day is over with. It's over with. So wait a minute now. You're going to tell a foreign power, Al-Qaeda or Africa, how to initiate what law?
And they were doing this through UN for decades. Since 80s, I want to say.
Yes. And now you want to cut off funding? When Barack Obama was in office, he went to Kenya. President Kenyatta told him before the press conference they had, do not talk about LGBTQ rights. We don't do that over here in Kenya. All we want to know is about how you're going to bring jobs to the continent and companies, okay? And billions of dollars worth of capital. Obama didn't do that. He got up and talked about LGBT. What does the oldest continent on earth have anything to do with gays and lesbians and LGBT? They want to kill us politically.
But literally, they were saying, we're not giving you money for food, water, wells, everything, unless you indoctrinate your kids.
Yes.
These are the new books about the tea stuff.
Right.
You can be whatever you want, whoever you want, whenever you want.
Yes. And
This is blackmailing.
Yeah, it's blackmail. We were cut off funding. So the young generation of Al-Qaeda or African leaders said, go kiss our behind, excuse my language. You're not running us anymore. The day of the African continent kowtowing to the West, that day's over with. That's why the CIA took out Gaddafi. Gaddafi wasn't gassing his people. When Gaddafi was in power, free education, free medicine, free housing, okay? Gaddafi gave up his weapons of mass destruction going back to the Reagan administration during the 1980s. But they set him up. Okay, I want you to do what I want Gaddafi and the Gaddafi administration to give up your weapons of mass destruction. Okay, we will wait 20, 30 years. Okay, and then back in 2011, 2014, the CIA sent in hit squads into Libya to take out. Gaddafi wanted to create the United States
Of Africa.
The West didn't want that.
I just fact-checked it. Yes, under Muammar Gaddafi's rule in Libya, there was free access to medicine, education, and housing assistance as part of his government socialist policies founded by oil wealth. They had plenty.
So the oil wealth, the nationalization of oil, those profits would go to the people. But Barack Obama didn't want that. The British Crown didn't want that. The West didn't want that. So let's go bomb them. Let's take out Gaddafi. He wasn't gassing his people. He also said to Obama, to the West, if you want to buy Libyan and African oil, you're going to have to do it in gold. The West couldn't afford that. So let's take him out.
I never understood why this guy from Syria, what was his name? They just took him out.
Yeah.
Why was he gassing his own people? I never understood it. Like, why? Was he?
He was gassing his own people. Him and his wife is British.
Yes.
I think they're in Russia now.
Yes.
Right. They got asylum in Russia. They gassed their people because they wanted to control all of the money, all of the oil, all of the natural resources, and they felt that they were threatened by the West, and they felt that there were CIA, Western spies, MI6 spies in the country.
They were afraid of a revolution.
A revolution. Now the leader of Syria has joined hand to hand with Mohammed bin Salman and President Trump. And President Trump lifted sanctions against the Syrian people. And that was the right decision. And so...
But he's former ISIS?
Yes.
Okay.
See, people can change with the help with Yeshua, but I don't think that he's a true believer in Yeshua the Christ.
And that's
Maybe in his heart.
In his heart, that's it. And the term Middle East was created by a deep state scholar by the name of Alfred Thayer Mahan. Alfred Thayer Mahan, M-A-H-A-N, in 1901 created the term Middle East. It doesn't exist. It's a fraudulent term. It's not organic. It's another way for the Western powers through the Suez Canal to castrate Africa or Al-Qaeda, to cut us off from what is called northeastern Israel or northeastern Africa or Israel. Israel is actually northeastern Africa or Al-Qaeda. So we've been lied to again. I want to get back quickly. Oh, this is heavy.
This is incredible.
I'm going to have to be here all day. No, anyway, listen. So when we talk about Antarctica, to sell the fallen angels. So during the crack cocaine epidemic, the Reagan administration was knee deep in the Iran-Contra affair. Reagan knew about that, okay? So how we're going to fund the wars in Central America through the sale of crack cocaine. Now, Joe Sleepy Creeping Biden had said that we're going to lock up these animals. And Joe Biden said that when he was the senator of Delaware. Joe Biden got his startup money going back to 1973 through the BCCI Bank. Okay? That bank that was the conduit for billions of dollars of drug money, cartel money, okay? Headquartered in London, England, Karachi, Pakistan, and Luxembourg City, Luxembourg. So Joe Biden said, I'm not going to allow my grandchildren to go to school with these animals.
I'm not going to let to turn this into a jungle. Something
To a jungle. But yet black folk voted for him.
amnesia.
Yeah. And so now the crack cocaine epidemic, the Biden family made millions off of that.
Millions only?
Millions.
I would say with the B.
Probably billions.
Yeah.
Billions. And so did the United States get billions at the expense of black folk, especially in South Central Chicago, Washington, D.C. There was a former gangster who was let out of prison. He was the biggest crack cocaine dealer in D.C. during the 80s. And boy, if you go look him up real quick, I cannot remember his name. All of a sudden, he died not too long ago. He got out of prison. The biggest cocaine dealer in the District of Columbia during the 1980s. And so the CIA used black and Latino gangs.
Rayful Edmond.
The CIA took him out. They took him out because he knew too much.
Of course. That's what they always do.
They took him out, and so Tookie Williams got the death penalty based on a lie. He didn't murder anyone at a 7-Eleven. Tookie Williams was a threat, so he got the electric chair. And Raymond Washington was killed by the CIA through gangs called the Pyrus during the late 1970s. So the Pyrus, now the term Pyro is actually the name of a demon in Finnish demonology. When I say Finnish or demonology through the history of Finland demonology. So the term Pyro means smart aleck. And so the Bloods and Cribs are the offsprings of the CIA, okay? South Central has been ravaged, Chicago, New York, all because of this demonic government who wants to depopulate a people. Why is it? Why is the black man, the black woman a threat? Now, COINTELPRO has not stopped.
And the blacks, not the Chinese, right? They all love two Chinese. Yeah. 1.5 billion.
Yeah.
Indians, 1.5 billion. Why the blacks?
Exactly. What? Because we are the original fathers of the earth. The black gene is the dominant gene. The white gene is the recessive gene. Now, it actually means that a high degree of white folk are getting skin cancer. There's no what we call melanin. I like to call it melon because actually the term melon is the name of a goddess in Greek mythology. But getting back to that Sedamark, remember in Genesis 4:15, Sedamark or Caucasian. The term Caucasian was concocted by the German philosopher Johann Friedrich Blumenbach in 1795. So the term Caucasian goes back to 1795. The scholarly work of Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, called the De Generis, D-E space G-E-N-E-R-I-S, Humani, it represents how the term Europe came into time back in 1795. But the term Caucasian also represents the term obsolescence. What does that mean? When Cain left the presence of God, dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden, God set a mark, God caucasoid or bleached him, not as a curse, but as an element to protect him from the weather. Black folk, we can't take no winters. That's not in our DNA, right? Our bodies are not designed to drink milk. I'm lactose intolerant for the most part, not all, but because of our genetical makeup. You talk about the SARS virus, the COVID SARS virus, or COVID, it was designed to colonize, CULLENIZ, to colonize a certain genetic group. In other words, it destroyed the Italian people. It almost ravaged the nation of Italy, but it really didn't touch Africa.
If that was so deadly, Africa should have been dead.
It should have been. But for the most part, according to the World Health Organization, the numbers of deaths in Africa during COVID was very low. I'm shocked about that.
Or India, because the density,
Yes.
the Delhi is like 30 million.
It was so bad in India, they were burning, but they ran out of graveyards. Just like in New York City, they ran out of graveyards to bury the people. So in India, they were burning bodies in India.
Do you believe that?
Yes, that's how bad it was. We have students who are pastors amongst the Malayali people in southern India, and also a lot of pastors up north in the northern part of India, especially in a section called Goa. That's more of a vacation spot, GOA. So they were, the government of India was burning bodies because they wanted to stop the spread of this, which came from a laboratory in the Wuhan laboratory, a part of a conspiracy through Chinese intelligence, the Ministry of State Security. So the term Europe, or to Europia, now we are taught there was a black princess called Europia, but the term Europe means that the Caucasoids were to be roped off from civilization. They were taught, even going back to Moses, before they were called Europeans, how to cook and to season their food, how to bury their dead. And the term Europe was later used by the Göttingen School of History, Göttingen School of History, in 1785. Sedemark, Caucasoid. So the term Caucasoid is actually only 240 years old, the term. And so Europe, we're told by the Greeks, represents a Greek myth that goes back 700 years. And the Greek scholar Ptolemy, Ptolemy, created a global mapping system of Europe, Asia, and Libya. He didn't say I'll keep it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Europe. Now the term Europe is only 2,700 years old. Okay. Now quickly, when we talk about the Human Genome Project, the black gene is the dominant gene. The non-black gene is the recessive gene. Okay. Now in the 2nd century, it gets deeper. Between 100 and 200 AD, comes the creation of the term Antarctica. But that term Antarctica was not the original name, okay? It had no name. But the fallen angels, part of the fallen angels were sent. Those cold weather angels or demons were not sent to the Antarctic. They were sent to what is called the Middle East. And those warm weather demons, according to the books of the Maccabees, including Enoch, those warm weather demons were not sent to what we call the Middle East. They were sent to the Antarctic. I don't know if you've even heard about this, Brother Apollo. A couple of years ago, the Russian government found a underground angel buried. And to your powerful listeners, in Russia a few summers ago, the government of Russia had announced to Vladimir Putin that a fallen angel was found beneath the earth on Russian soil. And now there are news outlets all over the world stating that these creatures are found underground all over the world. But the term Antarctica was created by a man by the name of Marinus of Tyre, Marinus of Tyre, Tyre, who created the term Antarctica or Arctic. It was adopted by the 7th meeting of the Scientific Committee on Antarctic Research, or SCAR, in 1955. Russia has military bases there, the United States, over half of the world. Now, it's interesting that there is fallen angel technology. And I want to say something that's mind-blowing. Remember the TV show The Blacklist that came on, right? And I think it was on for about 10 years on NBC. One of the episodes, I believe season 102, that there was a cartel, an underground network, that had found a particular disease that was frozen in the Antarctica. So there are governments today, including our government, who are searching for biological diseases that are millions of years old to extract those diseases. Why? To create weapons of mass destruction. This sounds like a sci-fi movie. But in Enoch, the first volume of Enoch, it has 108 chapters, and it talks about the Antarctic. Guess how many people were born in history? 108 billion people were born in history. We're down to 8.1 billion. So there's 108 chapters in Enoch Volume 1, but yet 108 billion people were born in history. Now we're down to 8.1 billion. Now in Enoch chapter 70, and especially in 77, as I said about 45 minutes ago to an hour, the Eastern Hemisphere is not where China is. They're in the West. We're actually in the East. A star was in the East. The Christ child, okay? Now, as a quick side note, Kobe Bryant fans, remember Nike's success for the successful. If people would go on to Google Images and type in Kobe Bryant's success for the successful, and that there is an inverted manger. In other words, Kobe Bryant's success for the successful is actually an upside down manger, mocking the manger of Christ. It's called inversion.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my conclusion, Genesis 6, Enoch 6, Jude 6, we were told 6 years ago to separate 6 feet from each other. Okay? Witches and warlocks separate 6 feet from each other in order to invoke the underworld. So what the deep state wanted, this septagon, octagon, hexagon deep state, they wanted people to separate from each other. So back in 2020, there were 7.7 billion people. Times that by 6 feet, that's 46 billion, 200 million degrees of separation. You and I have 46 chromosomes, 23 from the mother, 23 from the father, 46, 200 million. 200 angels were on Mount Hermon, which is today the 33rd parallel on the face of the earth, Mount Hermon. The logo of Paramount Studios is actually Mount Hermon. The stars represent the fallen angels coming across a watery ravine and going over Mount Hermon. 200 fallen angels. 20 of the 200 fallen angels, or 10%. See, whatever God has in truth, the tithe, Satan brings account of it. I brought with me one of the volumes of my book, Volume 2 of Comprehending the State of the Human Condition. Allow me to read you a snippet of the 20 angels that were commissioned out of the 200 and what these names mean, okay, in Chaldean.
Where can people buy the book?
Absolutely. They can go on Amazon Books, and also they can just email the bishop. Email my office at matter of fact, you'll put up the email. GSRM group Los Angeles at yahoo.com, and we will send it to you for free.
For free.
We won't charge you because we've been so blessed. But in chapter 3, page 52, the 20 angels out of the 200 that met on Mount Hermon represents a divine demonic code. Semjaza means cognitional in Chaldean. Semiza means thinking. Erkaba means that will. Ramil means to begin. Kokabel means the process. Tamil means of reversing. Ramil means the design. Dead El means from God. Ezekiel with the Z represents to reorder. Barakril, a new design. Asael, a new pathogen. Eremos, a new protein. Batiril, a new beginning. Enanel, a new kingdom, all in Chaldean. Zepquil with the Q, a new government. Samsapil, back to heaven. Sectorial, to rule. To real humanity, or that which is animalistic. Jomgel, resetting DNA. Serial, through deception. Wait a minute. So the 200 angels who met on Mount Hermon, and that was one of the mountains where Christ, through the mountain transfiguration, cleansed that mountain. This is a demonic Luciferic code that the deep state knew 6 years ago during the outbreak. Cognitional thinking that would begin the process of reversing the design from God to reorder a new design, a new pathogen, a new protein, a new beginning, a new kingdom, a new government, back to heaven to rule humanity by resetting DNA through deception. This is in Chaldean. Now, why is it not in Hebrew? Because in Enoch, volume 1 was mostly written not in Hebrew, but Chaldean in Persian. People have to understand that in each of the chapters, not just of the Torah, the Tanakh, the Midrash, the Mishnah, including the Gospels, each chapter must be interpreted into a different language. When you take the word faith in the Old Testament, it doesn't have the same interpretation as it does in the New Testament. This is a demonic code. And so demons are nothing more than backslidden angels. In other words, in Jude verse 6, 2 Peter 2 and 4. Now, 2 Peter 2 and 4 says that God is going to chain these fallen angels into chains of darkness. Okay, 2 Peter 2 and 4. Jude verse 6 says God is going to chain these demons out to darkness. What's the difference? The demons chained into darkness is at one level, but the demons in Jude verse 6 that are chained not into darkness, but under it. In other words, these demons chained under darkness were once the highest rated angels in the heavens. So the higher the title, the deeper the fall. And in my conclusion, we talked about the Epstein situation before we went live here today. For your powerful listeners, when we're talking about Antarctica, this elder fallen angels, if you want to know who's on that list, and I work with the administration, so I have to be careful, go to the Pandora Papers. Go to the Panama Papers and the Paradise Papers. So the Pandora Papers, the Panama Papers, and the Paradise Papers goes back to 2016, where thousands of governments, leaders, kings, queens, former prime ministers, not just having offshore accounts, but involved in the global pedophilia industrial complex. 2 minutes. The fallen angels, and this is Revelation, you're not going to find this anywhere online. type in baby soup. There is a dish called baby soup. And yes, so when Angel Cuomo was the governor, he's the ex-governor of New York. A year before he was excommunicated from that office, he allowed the Chinese government, nothing against our Chinese brothers and sisters, to bring in a certain dish in Chinatown in New York City called baby soup, made out of baby parts, out of the body parts of children. Baby soup.
Why?
It's demonic. It's beyond comprehension. When you talk, a matter of fact, let me say this. Oh, thank you, Holy Spirit. Alexander the Great, in connection to baby soup, Alexander the Great created a 16-point sundial, which is on the flag of Macedonia. So the flag of Macedonia with the 16-point point of a sundial created by a pedophile, Alexander the Great. The same sundial, which is a pedophile symbol, is the symbol of the Pan-Hellenic Divine Nine that was created in 1930 of 9 black Greek letter fraternities and sororities. On the website of the Pan-Hellenic Greek Divine Nine, Pan means cornucopia, a two-horn system. Their logo is a half of the sundial. Why would black folk have a pedophile symbol going back to Alexander the Great? You go to the insignia of the logo of the CIA. On the front shield, it has a 16-point sundial of vagina, or it represents a pedophile symbol going back to Alexander the Great. Why would the CIA have that? Listen, Jeffrey Epstein, okay? And then there's a book called Eaters of Children. Your powerful listeners can go to Amazon Books. It's by Johnny Cerisi. Hopefully we can get him. And definitely we'll love to get him to be your guest. Johnny Cerisi. On the cover of that book, it shows a demon with a child in its mouth and children on its body. Over its head is the sundial of Regina. It's a pedophile symbol. And then Peter Nygaard is the Canadian Jeffrey Epstein. On the jet floor, inside of the jet, of Peter Nygaard's jet is a stripper's pole. At the bottom on the floor is the 16 dial pointed symbol of the son of Regina. It's a pedophile symbol. Why would the Greek Pan-Hellenic Divine Nine have that symbol, even though it's a half of the sundial? Why would black folk have that? Why is that on the book, The Eaters of Children, concerning deep state pedophilia? Okay. Baby soup. Why is that logo on the front of the Central Intelligence Agency? Why is that logo inside of Peter Nygaard's jet on the floor from the stripper's pole on the floor having a 16-pointed? These people are involved in pedophilia, and not just pedophilia, child trafficking. And this is the reason why I'm so disappointed in the Trump administration. They have to release these papers. They have to, Pam Bondi needs to be fired, okay? She needs to go. And also the press secretary, a 27-year-old woman, Caroline Levitt, she needs to go. She's too young.
Did you see that she always wore a cross?
You know that.
And the last time when she spoke about Diddy and the Epstein files, she didn't wear a cross.
You know that.
She couldn't lie to Christ.
Exactly. See, it's perception. And it's meaning, okay? It's perception. So my thing is, Judge Jeannie, right, of formerly Fox News, she's a part of the Trump administration. She should be the AG. I told the Trump campaign, when I was in Milwaukee last summer at the RNC convention in Milwaukee, I think Pam Bondi will be a major mistake. But Pam Bondi is compromised. Her first husband, a man by the name of Garrett Barnes, was heavily involved with the Epstein Corporation. Her first husband, Garrett Barnes. That's why she's compromised. Who? Pam Bondi. She's got to go. Caroline Levitt, I like her. She's too young.
What about Cash?
Him, and I'm disappointed in him. He said, going back actually last summer, Jeffrey Epstein did not hang himself. He was murdered, but all said, no, okay, he hung himself. What happened? Cash Patel needs to be put on notice. And I heard he was put on notice this morning, okay? Along with Dan Bongino. I'm disappointed. But Dan Bongino is scared, okay? Somebody got to these men, okay? 2 minutes, we're out of here, I promise you. Antarctica, the cell of the fallen angels. If you get an opportunity, look up, and when we talk about the fall of man, creatures were fallen as well. Even an ant under a microscope, under a magnifying glass, looks like a demon. Now, why would I bring that up? An ant under a microscope that looks like a demon. When Adam fell, all of creation fell, including the animalistic kingdom. There is a painting going back to the 1600s of Lucifer going like this with a tear coming down.
Naked.
Oh, you know about that. I believe Alexandre Cabanel, I believe he's a French artist, was a French artist, created that canvas, Alexandre Cabanel. Of course, a 33rd degree Mason himself. But a few years ago, in South America, I believe in Brazil, the Brazilian government, okay, had thousands of eyewitnesses of people, not just in Brazil, but also Argentina, seeing a face in the cloud going like this, matching that painting of Lucifer going like this with the tear coming down, painted by the French artist Alexandre Cabanel. But what would be the percentages of us seeing that? Well, when I say us, our people in South America seeing the same thing. In other words, this is demonic. So anytime we have a blood moon, it means Lucifer is bleeding, but it also means God is excommunicating angels out of the heavens. It didn't stop in Genesis 6 or Enoch 6 or Jude 6. Anytime you see a blood moon, it represents not just Lucifer is bleeding, but the excommunication of angels. To the average person, they think that this is crazy. And I'm telling you, this was a powerful Antarctica, the cell of the fallen angels. These keep going. Yeah.
Very short moment. So, number one, you said that Mount Hermon is on a 33rd parallel, which is, I just fact-checked, it's true. You said that 33% of all the angels, a third of all the angels fall.
66%.
Yeah, a third, which means 33.
No.
Does it have anything in common with the masonry?
It does.
Because the highest ranking is 33rd degree Mason.
The highest ranking, whether in the global Masonic order or the Scottish Rite Masonic order, is 33 and 1/2.
1/2.
The 1/2 degree is only for those bloodlines of the 13 families. But TD Power Bottom Jakes is a 33rd and 1/2 degree. How did he get the 1/2?
Mm-hmm.
Because his bloodline is somewhere connected to one of the 13 families. And so, but those who are black are not allowed to attain that 1/2 degree of the 33rd and 1/2 degree. only those of the bloodline, the genetical bloodline of the 13 families. Everyone else can reach at the 33rd level, but Christ lived for 33 and a half years, then number 33. A third part of the angels of God, which is actually rabbinically 666%, but non-rabbinically is 333%. But you can only interpret God's word rabbinically. But that number 33, it represents one of the highest degrees, but the 33rd and 1/2 degree,
Cherry on top.
only those of the bloodline of the 13 families. This is heavy.
Second thing, so we talked a lot about how your people, black people, are being lied to and misled for centuries now. So I've been reading the book of Exodus with my son every evening for the last 2 months, right?
Yes, sir.
And in Exodus it says, for the Hebrews, you can have slaves, right? After 7 years, you should release them.
Yes.
But if a slave wants to stay with you, with your family, for his lifetime, what should they do?
Well, that was under the law of Moses. A slave actually was to be free during the time of the Jubilees, what we call Pentecost.
Yes.
Every 7 days or every 50 days, or 7 times 7, 49. Then the following day, the 50th day, they were to be free, which also represents Pentecost.
Yeah, but if they wanted to be with their master for their lifetime, they should have this thing holding his ear with the ears. Why do most of the male that have earrings are blacks? Why?
See, they don't. Oh, I'm so glad that you brought it. It's called an aul, A-U-L. Going back during the time of Moses, the 430 years of the enslavement of the children of Israel, the male slaves were to be pierced in their right, because the term right means favor. The Egyptians knew this. And left means disfavor. Why not pierce the left? No, pierce the right to break their contact with God. So the term aul, A-U-L, it represents that the male Hebrew slave belonged to a certain slave master. In earrings, during the time of the pharaohs, going back to the Exodus, each earring had a different color, depending on the color of the crest of that family who owned that slave. So why is black male? Look at Michael Jordan. Why are they? Because they don't understand it's rooted in historical enslavement. So that aul, A-U-L, it represents that they are the property.
They're doing this without even knowing what they're doing.
They're doing this without even knowing what they're doing. There is a term, a secret society created by John Jay out of New York called the Manumission Secret Society, M-A-N-U-Mission. That term manumission means a redesigned slave. So the founding fathers, especially John Jay out of New York, knew that the institution of slavery would not last forever. In other words, you can't keep people physically on the plantation. So we're going to manumission them or redesign them, okay? And this is where you get the term Emancipation Proclamation, okay, in 1863. Well, the term emancipation does not mean freedom. It means a redesigned slave. In other words, you're going to be emancipated, but not liberated or free. In other words, the proclamation was never to be called the Proclamation of Freedom, because the system does not want black folk to be free, okay, or any other, especially people of color. So let's put in the legal term emancipation. It means you're no longer on the physical plantation, but psychologically, spiritually, politically, financially, you're still on the plantation, beginning with the Democratic Party. Now, emancipation means you're only allowed to go so far.
It's like if you're a 15-year-old and you want to emancipate from your parents, it doesn't mean you're free.
It doesn't mean you're free.
There are terms and conditions on your emancipation.
There are terms and conditions on your emancipation.
Same word.
But same word, but that's not freedom. That's still enslavement. Half freedom is not freedom at all. Malcolm X said, you can stick a knife in my back and you take it out, 3¼ inches, but the knife is still there.
Mm-hmm.
You take it out halfway, but in order for the body to be healed, the knife must be taken out. But the emancipation knife is still there. It's only 3¼ out, but it's still there. Emancipation has terms and conditions. Okay? Now, 2 years later, in 1865, so you had the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, okay, which was a fraudulent document through Abraham Lincoln, okay? 2 years later, we're told that the 13th Amendment was activated. That's not true. The 13th Amendment was never passed because certain states like Delaware and Maryland still have not ratified the 13th Amendment, which would abolish slavery, which means technically Black America is still in slavery because the 13th Amendment was never ratified.
It had to be ratified by all 50 states?
All 50 states. Delaware, Joe's state, has not ratified it. Mississippi ratified it a few years ago. Why is it taking the system so long to do that?
Because Mr. Biden does not want to turn it into a jungle, quote unquote,
Right.
as he said himself.
You ain't black if you're going to vote for a president. That's what Biden said. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The same man who said, I'm not going to allow my children
To be raised in a jungle.
Okay.
And don't forget, he was raised in a black church.
He was in a...
He went to a black church.
Okay. And then he's so afraid, looking, I'm raised in a black church. Okay.
He was for the first time there. You can see it.
He's talking about he raised in a black church. Okay, wait a minute now. And at the same time, people can see his diaper. Another topic for another day, see? So, no. And see, this is, so you got me starting it. So, the bloodline of Joe Biden, the Robinette Biden bloodline, goes back to Scotland full of slave owners. Joe Biden's bloodline, the Robinette Biden bloodline that goes back to the 1400s of Scotland, and they eventually immigrated to the state of Maryland in the early part of the 1800s. There were slave owners.
It never changed.
It never changes.
Till 2025.
That's it. And so technically, the 13th Amendment has not been ratified. So black people have been given crumbs Juneteenth. Okay, right? It's a joke. Because Juneteenth, through a general by the name of Major General Gordon Granger, who read an edict on the courthouse steps on June 19, 1865 in Galveston, Texas. He said, and I quote, "You are hereby free slaves." Now catch that. You're not a free man, woman, child of God. You're a free slave. Or you are an emancipated slave with terms and conditions.
And you're still a slave.
Listen, Kobe, you see, like the Eagles song, Hotel California, you can check out at any time, but you can never leave.
The third thing that I would love to say, and we'll wrap it up.
Yes.
So, do I care about the Epstein files? Of course I do.
Yes.
But is the word just? No, it's not. But I know that the vengeance is his.
You know what? I'm so glad we're talking about this. My counsel to President Trump released the files.
It can ruin the country.
It can ruin but maybe it needs to be ruined to be rebuilt, because thousands and thousands of politicians, we're talking presidents, former presidents, prime ministers, don't you know over 60% of European royalty is involved in pedophilia, including the House of Windsor, all of them, going back to Queen Elizabeth. If the list is exposed, the government will fall. But the people were promised. We're going to release. Here comes Pam Bondi back in February. I kept the list on my desk for review. I'm reviewing it. Then she says, okay, I haven't read it. Wait a minute now. You just got done telling us you're reviewing it. Okay. And when John Roberts had asked her on Fox News, okay, had you found anything sensational? And she says, no, she's lying. And then she gave these little binders to some of the.
What was that?
I don't
If it doesn't exist, what was that like 6 months ago? If it doesn't exist,
Yeah, okay. And with Liz Wheeler, she's upset. Okay, so these binders, which on the front says phase 1. Wait a minute now. So if there's a phase 1, where's phase 2? Where's phase 3? But Pam Bondi said that's all it is. But if that's all there is, why did you put phase 1? She made them look like fools. Pam Bondi needs to go because Pam Bondi is compromised because of her first husband, Garrett Barnes, his connection to the Epstein Corporation in Florida. So these people, they're upset. You gave us binders, and most of the pages, oh, we got it. Okay. Who's involved? Okay. I love President Trump, but you got to come clean. You got, just show, listen, it's a stone in the shoe of this administration that must be removed. That's an old mafia term. 3 can keep a secret of 2 are dead. I don't care what great things they do. Did you see the deflection of the White House? Okay, we're going after Comey. We're going after John Brennan. That's deflection away from the Epstein files. People want transparency. That's why they voted President Trump in.
they want justice.
They want justice.
At least once in their lifetime of this generation. At least once.
Okay. 60 to 65% of the Democrats in the House and the Senate are on the list. I know that for a fact. 25% of Republicans in the House and Senate combined are on the list, including Lindsey Graham.
When it comes to pedophilia, no one cares about the party preference.
No one cares, you see? Exactly. But if Trump doesn't reveal it, he's going to lose the midterms in 2026. And then they're going to impeach him. I'm telling, so he's got to, this is not going away. So you talk about Antarctica, the cell of the fallen angels. Remember Dwayne Wade we talked about him. There is a powerful link on, I believe, on the Business Journal, one of the Business Journal websites. Your listeners can type in on google.com. Dwayne Wade has a misunderstanding of LGBTQ community, something like that. On his hair is miniature pyramids in the form of braids. Those miniature pyramids on the head of Dwayne Wade in that Business Review article represents one of the symbols that was declassified by the FBI a few years ago. People can look it up on Wikipedia. That the underground pedophilia network uses. Why would Dwayne Wade have that on his head?
The pyramids with the spiral in it?
Yes, going like this, but it doesn't go all the way at the end. Dwayne Wade's hat. That's a pedophile, high-level pedophile symbol of a boy lover, including a girl lover. See, these people have to sacrifice something. LeBron James, let me tell you something about LeBron. We're talking about Antarctica, the cell of the fallen angels. No other team in the NBA wants him. His time is up. I can't wait to see these shorts. His time is up. No team wants him. He's got one more year. And when he retires, his number would be called to either him, his wife, his daughter, or one of his sons. Somebody has to be sacrificed because we allowed you, LeBron, to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I'm telling you how these deep state devils think. They want blood. Okay? We gave you what you want. You're the greatest scorer in NBA history. We need someone to be liquidated. His number will be called. And you got a lot of listeners. Oh, you're saying he's going to die? I'm not saying he's going to die like Kobe.
Something's about to come up.
Be called. You see, anyone on that land, especially the rappers, we talked about this the first time I was on your Power Show. To go higher into the rap industry, you have to be butt broken, like you say, in humiliation, okay? And so they're butt broken. That's the system. And if you don't want to give in, they're trying to destroy you. But LeBron James, so let me say this, and we're going to end it here today. LeBron James' days are numbered. His days are numbered.
Not bless you, but may God's pleasure be upon you.
Yeah. Yes.
And the vengeance belongs to him.
And the list will be leaked. Someone's going to leak it. I got a copy, but I'm told not to reveal it. I got a copy. So I'm indirectly telling the beautiful listeners, go to the Panama Papers, Pandora Papers, and the Paradise Papers.
You just said that you have a copy of Epstein list?
Yes, I do. And I'm going to say say the raw truth. I hope and pray I don't get in trouble for saying that. But you know what? Let me take off my glasses. I cannot hold back the truth. Children. So the names, Pandora Papers, Panama Papers, Paradise Papers, everyone is involved. Jeffrey Epstein, this is how I'm so glad. Again, I thank God for this podcast. So Jeffrey Epstein, his handler was a man by the name of Donald Barr, the father of the former Attorney General Bill Barr. Bill Barr was the Attorney General under the first Trump administration. His father, Donald Barr, was the headmaster at one of the most prestigious schools in New York City and around the country, the Dalton School in Manhattan.
New York.
Donald Barr hired Jeffrey Epstein in 1974 to teach. Jeffrey Epstein had no degree, never finished college, but some way, somehow, he got a teaching job at one of the most prestigious schools in America. Okay. So Epstein's handler was the father of Bill Barr, Donald Barr. Donald Barr was a former OSS agent during World War II, the Office of Strategic Services. In 1974, when Bill Barr became the handler for Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Barr was a CIA agent. And at the time, Jeffrey Epstein was both Mossad and CIA. Did you hear the other day during the press conference when one of the press people said to ask Pam Bondi about Epstein's connection to Mossad? She didn't want to talk about that. Or she said, I don't know anything. She's lying, okay? The reason why, remember the JFK files came out a few months ago, okay? Benjamin Netanyahu, whose real last name is Malachowski, another topic for another day, told President Trump, remove the name of the state of Israel from the JFK files. Why? Why would it be a threat that the state of Israel would have to be removed from the JFK files, including the Mossad, because they were involved in the Kennedy assassination, because JFK wanted David Ben-Gurion to shut down that nuclear plant in Dimona, Israel. Gaddafi said it too. Gaddafi had exposed this. That's why they killed Gaddafi. He wasn't gassing these people. He exposed who took out JFK. Not just the CIA, the Mossad. Okay? So the Mossad told Trump, do not have or name the Mossad in the JFK files, remove it. Okay. In my conclusion, Antarctica, I'm trying not to smile because I love teaching. The Cell of the Fallen Angels. Netanyahu comes to the White House a few days ago. Mm-hmm. He says to President Trump, the state of Israel has nominated you for the Nobel Peace Prize. The same day, Pam Bondi says there's no files. Okay, she's been massaged. Okay, we've been lied to. Okay, we've been lied to again and again and again. She's got to go. Okay, so the Mossad was involved, not just with JFK's assassination. These are demons now. Martin Luther King, we got to go through him one day. Operation Lantern Spike. Ooh, Lord have mercy. Operation Lantern Spike. A joint CIA, Pentagon, FBI initiative to assassinate Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. King was already alive when he was sent to the hospital at St. Joseph's, okay? And we talked about this a couple of months ago. And then according to Dr. William Pepper, the attorney for the King family, he said that Dr. Brain Bland, the head of the surgical ER unit at St. Joseph's Hospital there in April 1968, was also paid by the Dixie mob to take out Dr. King was still alive. They smothered him. Dr. Brain Bland and 3 other men who were wearing black suits. This was according to the legal affidavit of a nurse. Her name was Lula Mae Shelby. Later, her son Jockton, not Johnson, Jockton Shelby, signed that affidavit after his mother died that Dr. Breen Bland, the Memphis Dixie Mafia, on the orders of the FBI, Pentagon, CIA, Operation Lantern Spike, smothered Dr. King and spit on his corpse in the ER unit of St. Joseph's Hospital. You're dealing with the synagogue of Satan.
Another topic for another day. May God's pleasure be upon you, Bishop.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.